Greetings and welcome, one and all. I am Dr. Wolf, and today I am joined by my brother, Teric Dragon. You want to say hello?
Hello, everybody.
As of recent, both Teric and I have been thinking a lot about Dungeons and Dragons. In particular, a game that Teric had introduced to me way back in the mid-90s that is all about Dungeons and Dragons. And while we are going to be discussing our initial introduction to the concepts of D&D, I have been really itching to play this game for a while now. I haven't touched it in well over a decade, maybe even 2 decades. I can't be sure. It's a very old school dungeon hack kind of game. And we're going to be creating a character and mostly talking about our experiences with Dungeons and Dragons overall, and perhaps even introduce a few of you out there to why it's such a fun concept for a gaming culture. Teric, did you have some thoughts you wanted to introduce before we get started?
I'm sure a lot of you already know what Dungeons and Dragons is, but for those of you who don't, Dungeons and Dragons is what's called a tabletop role-playing game, where you have a group of people that sit at a table and you have a character sheet that represents the character you're playing, and then the one person acts as what's called a game master or a dungeon master, and he tells you what's going on, he or she tells you what's going on in the game, and then you as the players tell the dungeon master what you want to do as a character, and then you have a bunch of dice that you roll to see whether your actions are successful or not. And that's, in a nutshell, that's a tabletop role-playing game. Dungeons and Dragons is by far the most popular of the tabletop role-playing games, but there are hundreds of tabletop role-playing games out there from pretty much any subject that you can think of. If you want to play a role-playing game in a certain genre, in a certain type of situation, certain time period, I'm pretty sure you'll find one out there that fits what you're looking for. And so, yeah, and they're played by a very wide range of players, and they really are a lot of fun.
Yeah. This particular game, based off of the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd edition, which came out in late 80s, I think.
Yeah,
it is a single-player dungeon crawler. So it's not a complete Dungeons and Dragons experience, but it's a very fun niche within Dungeons and Dragons. Basically, you aren't interacting in towns, you aren't creating parties, you aren't going off on far-off lands. You're going into one specific location by yourself as one of the many classes that D&D has to offer. And today, we're going to be creating a character and kind of explaining how things work as they go along.
Yeah.
Now, first off,
go ahead.
Teric, what classes have been your favorite classes to play?
Oh boy. Well, I can honestly say I've played them all. Now in 2nd edition, the range of classes that you had were what you see here on the left, and there were a few others. And notably, you see the assassin and the monk are missing from this list. But for the most part, the classes you see here are what you had available in 2nd edition. My favorite classes, it depended if I was in a party helping others, or if I was on my own. Normally in a party, you'd have me playing the paladin class. Now the paladin is like the holy knight, who is the epitome of goodness and justice and fighting against evil and all that kind of thing. I like to play the paladin, but if I'm on my own playing solo in 2nd edition, I most often like to play the ranger cleric, which you'll see down there lower on the bottom there. The ranger is a fighter subclass that specializes in the bow or ranged combat, and then the cleric is what you might call a battle priest, who can wear heavy armor, and they can cast holy healing spells, and they can use blunt weapons and things like that. And so the combination of the two of them together makes for a pretty powerful soloing class.
Mm-hmm. Every time I've played these types of games, now tabletop role-playing, that has been a very, very rare occurrence for me. I've just never had that many opportunities to do that.
I'm sorry to hear that.
But when I'm playing a game like Dungeon Hack, yeah, I like to try all the different classes to see where their strengths and weaknesses lie. Yeah. In a group setting, even though I haven't played tabletop that much in my life, I have played many, many thousands of hours of World of Warcraft, which shares many similarities to this kind of setup. And yeah.
World of Warcraft, its roots.
Typically play the class that was most needed by the rest of the party.
Yeah.
It didn't matter as much that I would play a favorite class. It was more about how can I round out the party balance? And that usually meant I was either playing the frontline tank or, more often than not, the healer, because most people don't like playing the healer.
Oh, I love playing the healer.
I would be stuck in most of the time, and I was okay with that. I would be either a priest or a druid or a shaman and have fun with that.
Yep. I played a healer. I had a druid that I really enjoyed playing as a healer, and he was one of the characters that I got up to the level cap in World of Warcraft. Anyway, I think we're getting off subject.
We are getting a little off subject. What kind of class should we be playing? Or should I just be re-rolling the dice until one of the stats shows up as 18 and then we just pick a class that best suits that stat that is 18?
Now, what you have here already, you see the 1898 on the strength there?
Yeah, that just came up randomly. That's insane strength to start out.
Okay, let me explain a little bit. In first and second edition, I think they got rid of this in third edition. But in first and second edition, whenever you had 18 strength, you got an additional strength roll for what's called exceptional strength. And that roll is anywhere from 0 to from 1 to 100. The absolute maximum strength that a mortal could have was 18,100. Mm-hmm. So the strength that you have here, 1898, is amazing. Yeah. And it is extremely rare that you'll get something that high.
Yeah.
So what the person that you have here, I don't know if you can
barely above any penalties in intelligence and wisdom. He's just barely at the point where he won't take penalties with having 10s.
Yeah, he's a pretty average student.
Average, probably. Charisma is definitely less than average.
And so, I don't know if you really use charisma in this game.
We don't use charisma. That's the thing.
Yeah, I don't think you
do. Playing as a paladin or a bard, charisma makes no sense whatsoever. And even as a paladin or bard, you have to have a certain level of charisma, but you don't use it. It doesn't make any sense. It's a single-player dungeon crawler game.
So, yeah, they didn't really implement very much with charisma, but the rest of the stats are pretty important in their own ways.
Yeah. I could see a character like this being someone who can deal out tons of damage, but really can't take it. In order to use your strength to its fullest potential, you have to be up close and personal, melee range combat. And with dexterity and constitution scores that won't give you any bonuses, you're kind of in a bad spot.
Yeah, you don't really get much damage mitigation by doing that. So you can.
I don't know if this is the kind of character I should go for. Regardless of which class I choose, I don't know if this is the best choice to make. But what would you say? You have far better experience with D&D overall.
I would be inclined to agree. In this case, if it was a character that was going into a party, I might be tempted to keep it because he has a decent constitution. The dexterity, like you say, is pretty average. Intelligence and wisdom, he's not going to use it. But that strength is just amazing. And so the ability, it's not just damage, but being able to lift gates, bend bars, being able to move rocks, hold up things so that the rest of the party can go through. Mm-hmm. That would be what this character would do. But you don't have any of that in Dungeon Hack. So I would say skip it.
You can hit monsters a lot harder with this kind of character, but I'm more concerned about being able to survive to the very end. So,
all right, reroll. Yep.
Okay, we have 118 here.
Wow, now look at this.
14 charisma, 14 wisdom, 14 strength, 9 dexterity, which is worrying me, and 11 intelligence. Now, what would you say to a character like this? This is the kind of character who will get the maximum number of hit points for their specific class.
I think this looks like it would make a good cleric.
14 wisdom.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not an exceptional.
Is really worrying me because. Ugh.
Now, on the other hand, you got to realize, as a cleric, you can wear the heaviest armor. So that can actually make up for the difference in dexterity.
But if you ever want to use missile weapons,
no. See, I wouldn't.
With that spiritual hammer, that's one of the weapons I actually love to use in Dungeon Hack. Is the spiritual hammer? It's something that you can throw and it'll always come back. That's based on your dexterity, isn't it? Whether you hit.
I did forget about that. Yep. So having a low dexterity, would probably cause a problem. But
are there any other classes that could really make use of these stats, do you think?
The high constitution. Okay, there's another one that they had additional classes that came out in what's called the Unearthed Arcana, where you had a class called the Barbarian, and the Barbarian actually his main stat was Constitution.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they wouldn't wear heavy armor and they would depend on their very, very high hit points in order to survive.
Yeah.
But in this case, having the high constitution is a really big bonus, but you're not exceptional in any other area. So I'm not, I'd say reroll.
Now this one's more interesting rounded. He has very little strength, but everything else.
Pretty decent.
Yeah, this is a very interesting mix of stats, I have to admit. What would you use this for, though?
In this case, I think I would go for a magic user thief.
A thief mage.
Yes.
With a 15 dexterity and a 16 intelligence.
17 constitution.
Constitution. Okay.
Yep.
You think a mage thief?
Yep.
Interesting. Okay. So 18 hit points to start. Pardon me. Okay, let's see.
They put you at level 4 as a thief and level 3 as a mage. All right, now male and female doesn't really make a difference.
Doesn't make a difference now.
Not in this game.
Thief, you're going to have some measure of neutrality because you can't really be lawful good.
No, you can't be lawful as a thief. You have to be neutral something.
Yeah, you select good, it takes out lawful. You can't be lawful good as a thief. So let's say chaotic.
Chaotic good, that works.
Now, you can only choose a half elf or an elf when you're going for the thief mage. Yep. If you choose an elf, you'll get a point of dexterity, but you'll lose a point of constitution. So you get a better armor class, but you won't have as many hit points.
Yep. And the half elf won't change anything if I remember correctly. The half elf won't change anything. Now, this is another thing about first and second edition is that they had classes were race locked, which means there were certain races that could not be certain classes.
Yeah.
They got rid of that in third edition, but you can see that taking effect here.
Yeah. It's not going to change my hit points if I choose an elf, but every time I gain a level, it will make a difference on how many more hit points I gain each level. But having that extra point of dexterity, that's very tempting.
I like the idea.
Very tempting.
Yeah.
All right. I think this is a good spot.
Yeah. Now you realize as a melee fighter, you're not going to be doing all that much damage. But,
no.
But
this may be something I need to stick with throwing weapons and spells, because if I try to go toe-to-toe with an orc, he could easily overpower me.
Probably, yeah. Now, I don't remember in this game if there's the concept of stealth and sneak attacks.
Yeah, there is a bit of that. If you strike a monster from behind, you have a better chance to hit.
Yeah, and as a thief, you get the backstab ability.
Yeah. So I say let's stick with this.
All right, let's do it.
Now, a portrait. Which one of these looks like both a thief and a mage?
No, they really don't give you much, do they?
This one's probably closest to looking like a thief and a mage. At least elf figures I can see.
Yeah.
Probably.
I can see that.
So, oh great Teric, give me a name for this elf thief / mage.
An elven thief / mage. We'll call him Seros.
How do you spell that?
S-E-R-O-S.
S-E-R-O-S. Seros.
There you go.
Now, we gotta get some difficulty figured out.
Now, I don't know if it's my connection or your connection, but your voice is glitching out every now and then.
I see. Sorry about that.
Right. This screen right here is one of the things that made this game so much fun.
Oh yeah.
Because you could plan out what type of dungeon experience you wanted. So you had the dungeon depth. It said how many levels the dungeon is. It's set at 20 right now. The monster amount is the percentage of chance that you get more or less monsters in a specific level. The treasure amount, same type of thing. Food availability, yes. This game actually does use a food mechanic, and if you run out of food and you slowly starve to death, and that's one way you can die. Illusionary walls can be turned on and off. If you like the puzzle and the secret finding aspects of the game. Keys, traps, pits, and hints. They're all that's the frequency that you will find those kinds of things in the dungeons. Magical zones that do magical effects like magic traps when you walk through them. Water levels, where you have a level that's completely filled with water and you have to have some way of actually breathing in water in order to get through the level. Multi-level puzzles, of course, you have things where you find something on one level, you have to bring it to another level to unlock something, that kind of thing, multi-level puzzles. Yeah. Undead, of course, you're always going to do better against undead if you have a cleric, but other classes can still be effective against the undead. Food consumption, of course, that's how fast you consume your food, your monster difficulty, how powerful magic is. Now, that's not just how powerful your magic is, but that's also how powerful enemy magic is. So that's
I've got enemy spells currently turned on.
So are you gonna, if you're
putting
gonna
up magic power means that I'm stronger, but occasionally you'll find enemies who will cast lightning bolt at you and could potentially kill you in a single strike.
Yeah, you get fried. Uh-oh. Ah. Yeah. All right, go on. You go on ahead. I'm going to take the call.
Anyways, I have had a lot of experience with this game, especially back in the mid-90s when I used to play it a lot. And this character death reel, this is what makes this game so difficult. Because if your character dies, it removes all your saves of that character. You got to make sure that you don't ever allow yourself to get into that bad of a situation. Regardless of how many times you've saved before, it'll immediately remove any trace of your character if you die. And that makes a bit of a hardcore mode of this game, and sometimes I actually like that. So I'm going to keep that on, even though it's definitely going to come back to bite me. I know it will. And let's think. What else would I want to change?
All right, I'm back. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. I don't think I'm going to make the dungeon quite that deep. But I don't even know if I'm going to get to level 10. We'll see whether that happens.
Yeah. Again, this is another game. Well, yeah, you did talk about character death being real.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a game where death is fairly common, and some of your characters will die. And that's to be expected.
I just happen to like games where there is that deep level of frustration, working so hard and planning so carefully and still losing.
Yep.
I like those kind of games. I'm sure Teric can attest to that with all the games I've recommended to him.
Uh-huh. Well, especially Darkest Dungeon. That thing is brutal.
I like Darkest Dungeon.
Yep. Anyway.
I love playing Darkest Dungeon. It's so frustrating, but my goodness, I keep getting drawn back in. But for now, let's begin and see what we start with as a
Enter the dungeon.
level 4 thief and a level 3 mage.
All right. Now remember, these dungeons are all randomized.
Oh yeah. Every time you play this, it will be a different experience. I also noticed that this game, whoa, look at that. Hang on a second.
Right when you start out, my goodness.
Okay, give me a minute here. Whew.
Wow.
Okay. I did not mean to start the game right off like that.
Was that a bugbear or was that a goblin? I
pulled up my spell book and used a spell called Burning Hands, which is basically anything that is right in front of you will get hit by jets of flame from your fingers.
It's a cone of flame, but it's short range.
And of those 2 monsters I killed, one of them dropped a blue potion, but I have no idea what this blue potion does. That's another thing I like about this game is the fact that every time you play, all the colors switch on what effects they have for potions. So you never know what a potion is going to be able to do. However, as a mage, I have this handy ability called Improved Identify. Which is something that is specific only to mages. They have this ability. Everyone else, they have to guess what potions will do and what equipment will do, and sometimes you'll come across equipment that are cursed and you put it on and realize you can't take it off.
Okay. Now to be fair,
Identify allows you to avoid nasty traps like that. So this is a potion of speed. Interesting. It's probably something that casts haste on you, which may be useful to me.
Now, to be fair, Doc, there are identify scrolls that you can find.
Yeah.
Other classes can use those.
Identify scrolls. In this game, however, there is something called a scrying glass. And that's something any class can use.
Yep.
Now, in my equipment, I started with this staff, which is basically a big wooden stick. Nothing special about it. My spell book, which is very important. Some robes, which really don't do much for me. It's just, hey, I'm wearing something. I have my...
You don't want to run around naked.
What?
You don't want to run around naked.
Yeah, maybe you might be faster that way. Anyways, I have some rations, only 2 rations, and as you can see, my food bar is slowly going down as I'm talking about this. I'm going to put these in a different slot in my backpack. I also have a bow, and here it says I have 8 arrows in my quiver. Since I am a thief mage with very low strength, this is probably the best way for me to go exploring through the dungeon. Oh, look at that. I got an orc already. And I hit him with an arrow.
Hooray.
I can hit him with another arrow. And I did. Okay.
So you've got good dexterity.
All the arrows that you shoot because you do not want to run out of arrows.
Yep.
Now look at this. I found a key on the ground, and I have to imagine it's going to be used in this lock.
There.
Oh, there's a little hobgoblin over there.
Oh, you missed.
I didn't miss.
Oh, did you get him?
I didn't
see the hit.
I didn't see the hit. Okay.
Yeah.
You guys, can you hear the sound effects in this game? I gotta adjust the volume on this if that's the case.
Yeah, I can hear it coming through.
Oh, I missed. I keep missing.
Now, you know what? I'm not sure that's an orc. I think that's a goblin.
No, I think that's an orc because I can look at creature totals and it'll tell me what I've killed.
Okay.
Pick up all my arrows first. So I'm gonna hit the camp button and I'm gonna show creature totals. And look, I've destroyed 2 hobgoblins.
There you go.
Orcs.
Okay. Now, a nifty little note for those of you who are classic Dungeons and Dragons players. The monsters in this game were modeled to look like
you go ahead.
They were modeled to look like the pictures of the monsters that you would find in the old monster manual. So what you're seeing here is pretty close to what you would actually see in the actual rule book of Dungeons and Dragons.
I'm playing very cautiously. I've already taken 1 hit. It took half my health away. 1 hit from a hobgoblin spiked club took me down halfway. Oh, that's not fun.
Yep, you got to be real careful. Now, can you use the arrow keys as hotkeys, or do you have to hit those arrow buttons?
Well, if I had a keyboard that allowed me to actually use the number pad, but I don't have one. So I'm using the arrow keys on my keyboard.
And to turn, you have to use the mouse.
To turn, I got to use the mouse. If I had a better keyboard, I could do things a little differently. Now, let's see here. Oh, look at this. Somebody's coming through.
Yeah, you're a pretty good shot with the bow.
Oh, I've got 16 dexterity, so that definitely helps my chance to hit. This orc is chasing me down, though.
Not anymore. Yeah.
In the early levels, they make the enemies very slow-moving to give you a chance to get used to them. But later on, I'm not going to be able to use these kind of tactics of constantly backing up. Now, what is this? A mage scroll, protection from paralysis. You know what I can do with this? I can scribe this to my book and maybe use it later. Clear potion. I don't know what that does. Oh, look, Agonizer's Scorcher. Another one I can put in my spell book. But I'm going to have to memorize those spells every time I rest. And there's only so many spells you can cast per day, depending on what level of mage you are.
Now, the casting mechanic in first and second, well, they even did it in 3rd edition as well, but they relaxed it somewhat. But the casting mechanic, it goes on a number of spell slots per day, and you at the end of each day, you had to sit down, you had to meditate and memorize the spells that you wanted to use the following day. And then once you used the spells that you had memorized, they were gone. You couldn't use it anymore until you have a full night's rest, and then you rememorize the spells. Now, that created a rather interesting mechanic that some people really liked and some people didn't. Because what it does is it makes magic casters early on in the game, it makes them very, very weak. But later on in the game, when you have a large amount of spells that you can memorize, magic casters become much more powerful than the physical fighters. And so it's a risk-reward type of thing. And plus the ability to cast magic spells, everybody likes to do that. That's fun. That's cool. Some people did not like the fact that it was so limited. They think that if you're a magic user, you should be able to cast spells repeatedly. And so some people shied away from that system.
Doors work a little bit different depending on which doors you come across. Some of them require keys, others require certain switches that are found on walls nearby, and others you just click to open.
Yep.
Oh, wait. I got to keep aware of my surroundings. I'm going to get hit from this flank.
You're going to get pulverized.
I got to be really cautious about where I'm moving because I have no armor. It's only my dexterity that's affecting my armor class right now. And that's a big, big problem because I've got character death real turned on.
Yep.
No, I
now,
see a little map.
There is another mechanic that Dungeons and Dragons players that have started since 3rd edition came out that may be a little difficult to understand. In 1st and 2nd edition, the armor class, or basically how much protection you have against damage, it started at 10. And the lower that it got, the more effective it was. And that seems a little counterintuitive because it ended up, some people had armor class of like -3, -4, and that meant that they were really strong. They had really strong protection, strong armor, or whatnot. But that system was confusing to a lot of players. So in 3rd edition, they changed that around and they made it so that armor class starts at 10 and goes up. The more armor that you're wearing, and that actually was a lot more intuitive to players.
I am running out of arrows. That one hobgoblin took like 3 or 4 arrows. That's another thing I actually like about this game is that the monster difficulty changes per monster you face. They will have different amounts of hit points, different amounts of chances to hit. You can't sometimes because you one-shot one enemy that a similar looking enemy is going to be just as easy to kill. And what is this thing? It's just a little rock?
I would pick it up. What is it?
For now, I've got room, but eventually I'm going to be running out of room. When I rest, I have to get detect magic going. Protection from poison. That sounds.
Oh, now that will be handy.
There's also an amulet in here. I'm going to have to identify it. I hesitate to put things on if I don't know what they are.
Especially if you're pretty sure that oh, almost dead.
I think it's a good time that I need to rest. I'm going to find a safe spot. Just where nothing's around. And then I'm going to camp. And I'm going to look at my memorized spell list. Now, I'm going to remove 1 slot of magic missile and put in detect magic. As for level 2, I have my improved identify, which is probably most useful for right now because I don't think
I would agree.
It's going to paralyze me, and I don't want to rely on spells that require you to get up close and personal, except for burning hands because that's an emergency kind of thing. All right, I'm going to rest. Now, it took 4 hours to memorize new spells, but if I want to heal my wounds, that's going to take a lot longer.
Wow.
80 hours. 80 hours.
Apparently
I didn't need to eat during that entire 80 hours. I'm perfectly fine. I've got lots of food bar left. Try to explain that to me.
No, your food was going down, but only slowly.
Yeah, but 80 hours, my goodness.
Yeah, well, it's where you put the food consumption level when you planned out the dungeon. I think you had it rather low.
Yeah, I did. I expected I'm going to have to rest a lot. So I'm going to eat some rations.
Goop.
All right. Now I have an identify spell ready, and I want to use it. There was actually a bit of a trick you can do with this game, identifying 2 items at once. If you just put them in your hands and keep the spell book open over here. So this amulet is an amulet of imminent return. It basically says every time you use this, you're going to go back to the last stairway that you hit.
Does it have a number of charges?
Strength. I have a potion of speed and a potion of giant strength. My pitiful strength could temporarily be no longer an issue. But that
Yeah.
still means I'd have to get up close and personal, and I don't know if I do that.
No, I agree.
Oh, there's an enemy in that room. What's that enemy doing? And it missed.
Okay. Yeah. Oh,
It.
there he is.
It's a little bit tedious trying to do it this way, but
Now, see, this is a mechanic that I would use, but there wasn't actually a name for this mechanic until much later when more people started playing this kind of game, and it's called kiting.
yep.
Have you heard that term before?
I certainly have. Oh, look at that. This is something that you find every so often in the dungeon levels, and that's what silver and gold coins are used for. You can put it in this little slot, and it'll heal you up back to full. And with gold coins,
nice.
it'll actually help remove any status ailments. What is this? I don't see a switch. Oh, there's a switch.
I do.
Oh dear. I got hit for 2. Okay. I'm going through this level a bit more slowly than I'm used to because, quite frankly, I still remember that hobgoblin taking 8 hit points off of me with a single strike. And yeah, that was half my health.
Yep. I get it. You don't want to die.
I gotta be careful. But there are way, way more creatures in these dungeons than just hobgoblins and orcs. Every dungeon level you're gonna find more dangerous foes. Far, far more dangerous. In fact, earlier today, I was playing a fighter mage cleric.
Oh, now there's an interesting combination.
All at once, and you have to spread your experience points across all 3 classes. And it takes a while to level up, but if you wanted to be able to do everything in this game, then yeah, fighter mage cleric or fighter mage thief. And I wanted to try it out. I was doing pretty darn well. I had gotten up to, what is it, level 9 in all 3 of those classes.
Oh, that's impressive.
And I was able to defeat pretty much anything that came across my path. Pretty much. I got to one level where the very first enemy I found was some kind of mechanical scorpion thing. It was all metal. I don't know what to call it. And I'm running out of arrows here. This is worrying me. Okay.
Hey, time to use spells.
I am going to bring out one spell I've got. I didn't use Detect Magic. I need to use Detect Magic.
How long does that last?
It'll last for a while. Okay, this is not a magical rock. I picked it up just in case it was magical. It's not. I have 2 arrows remaining, and I got to pick up all the ones I've been shooting around. I need to get a better bow, honestly. I'm hoping I'm going to find one. I really, really do. Okay.
Is it just a short bow at this point?
It's just a short bow at this point.
Yeah.
And these are non-magical arrows. So against hobgoblins and orcs, yeah, it should be okay, but I have to find something more powerful for later down the road.
Now, I noticed that you're doing something there. You're sidestepping
around the corners.
You're sidestepping around corners and things. Now, can you explain why you're doing that?
I want to be able to shoot something the moment I see it. Oh, hello.
So you're not actually going to the end of the hallway and then making the turn. You're turning before you get there so that you can sidestep into the hallway and see if there are monsters down the hallway.
Ah.
Ouch.
3 arrows in this guy. Now he goes down. But not before he took a good chunk out of me. By the way, are the sound effects in this game too loud?
Nope, you're good. They're coming across at a nice level.
Oh, that's a problem.
Key, you don't have it.
I don't have the key for this door. This is not helpful. Okay, so time to head back the other direction. Don't have to worry.
Time to go.
Cautious. All right. I dropped. Check the map. Very handy that this map would automatically updates.
Auto mapping. That was a very new concept back then.
Oh yeah.
It used to be, for those of you who are old school CRPG players, whenever you played a game like this, you had a piece of graph paper and a pencil with you on your desk, and you would map out the place as you go so that you can tell where you've been and where you're going. Having an auto mapping feature in a game like this, that was new, that was novel.
And nothing's hitting this guy. Come on.
You still have 5 chances.
I'd rather not have to use my fist. Thank you. What is this?
Oh, he dropped protection from cold.
Okay. It's still tedious. I got to find all these arrows, but I'm trying to be as careful as I can. Oh, that sounds like a very complex spell. Wall of Force. Copy that into the book. All right. Now, you were saying that you love the fact that this game auto maps, because it used to be that everybody had to graph paper their way through a game.
Yes.
There's a function that allows you to save to disk or print the map, so you can actually take notes. This was still back in the day when, yeah, it was still a common thing that you'd write on your own maps, and they wanted to accommodate people who still did that.
Yep. Yep. I played a lot of the old CRPGs. I played the original Pool of Radiance. I played the Ultima series, Ultima 4, Ultima 5. I played the old Might and Magic series. That was I had Might and Magic 2. I even played a little bit of the original Wizardry and Bard's Tale. So those are some of the really old.
That was actually a lot of fun.
Those are some of the really old computer role-playing games, and I look back on them now, comparing them to the modern-day CRPGs that you find, and there are some really cool things about those old games. But one thing that I really don't miss is the repetitive grinding. Ah, there's your key for that lock.
Dungeon Hack has a whole lot of repetitive grinding.
Oh no, Dungeon Hack is repetitive grinding, yes. But if you're in the mood, for just a straight up action-packed dungeon crawl, Dungeon Hack has got it for you. It does a good job.
And it's very, very difficult to boot. Plus, it has some interesting little flavor text, like this little mounted head on the wall. You click on it. Look at the size of the teeth on that thing. Well, I see no reason to put my hand in there. There's flavor text for all the little things you find on the walls. Just fun little tidbits. Ooh. That time,
now, is there a hotkey for your weapon?
I don't believe there is.
Yeah, you know what? I bet there is. We just don't know what key it is.
Well, I picked this game up less than a week ago. It was $6 on goodoldgames.com, GOG.com.
Yep.
First time I've ever bought a game on GOG.com, because, yeah, I was getting a hankering for playing this game.
Yep. Now, let's see. I have to put in a little pitch for GOG.com. For people like me who have a lot of old classic games that we really loved as a kid, but we can't find them anymore, you go to GOG.com and they have a lot of those old games out there, and they are updated to run on modern operating systems, like this game here. And so major kudos to GOG.com, who brought back a lot of the nostalgia of my youth. Now, at the same time, that means that there are a lot of old games that they bring back for nostalgia purposes, and it turns out that those games really aren't all that good.
Yeah. I still have fun with something like this, though.
Oh, sure.
All throughout this week, I've just been reliving a game from the past and realizing that, yes, it is exactly as hard as I remember it. Holy cow, it is way too hard in some places.
Now, this is interesting. I'm realizing that Dungeon Hack is very much a roguelike. If you know what the term roguelike is. Have you heard that term before? That looks like it's a magic cloak.
It is a magic cloak, but I don't have Identify, and I don't dare put it on until I figure out what it is. I've had too many instances in this game where I put something on, all excited, ooh, it's a magic thing, and I'm like, no, I can't take it off. It's taking all my strength away.
So yeah, then you got to live with it for the rest
of
the game.
That are put there to make you feel like you can't trust anything you pick up.
Yeah, and until you get a remove curse scroll.
And I don't want to find one of those. I don't want to put something on and have to wait 3 levels of dungeoning before I can take it off.
Yeah. One shot, nice.
You know what? I am genuinely curious at what this cloak is, so I'm going to camp and make sure I've got improved Identify, and we're going to rest, and let's see how many hours this takes.
Not too much.
30 hours, yeah, not too much. Try sitting in one spot for 30 hours and tell me that's not too much.
Well, I did my environmental science merit badge, and I sat for 6. Does that count?
Kinda. All right. First, detect magic. Everything glows blue.
Yay.
We got this cloak here, and this potion, I have yet to figure out what that is. The potion is resist fire.
Oh, good.
The cloak is protection +3.
Fantastic. Put it on.
Yeah, but my goodness, you start with a cloak of protection +3?
That's a very good find. You're still on the first level of the dungeon, aren't you?
Well, my armor class went from 8 down to 5, and lower numbers are a good thing. My goodness, +3.
That's a really good find. You're very fortunate.
All right, all right. So tell me, Teric, what was your very first experience getting into Dungeons and Dragons way back in the mid-'80s?
Believe it or not, it was actually in the early 80s when we still lived in California. You were pretty young back then. And I was in Boy Scouts. I went to one meeting of Boy Scouts where after the meeting, 2 of the guys got together and they started talking about the game, and they actually had the rule book there. And so I said, hey, what are you guys doing? Can I play with you? And they said sure. So they gave me a character, and I have to admit, the character they gave me had all 18 in all of its stats.
Yeah, great.
Because they just wanted to roll up a character really quick and not have to deal with that. And then we started playing, and I was fascinated. I was hooked. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a whole big game where you can do pretty much anything, and it's all in your head.
Let me ask you a question. Had you read something like Lord of the Rings before that point?
I had read The Hobbit, yes. I had also read the first book in a series called Dragonlance. It was called Dragons of Autumn Twilight.
Okay.
I had read those 2, and those are both very high fantasy, and so I was very familiar with all of the concepts and things like that. And so
by the time the early 80s came around, I bet you movies like Dragon Slayer, you probably
I remember that one. So yeah, my first experience with Dungeons and Dragons was at Boy Scouts, and from that point on I was hooked. I asked for a role-playing game for Christmas that year, and I haven't looked back since. I have now been a dungeon master for more than 2 decades.
You still play with your sons, don't you?
Yeah, in fact, this very morning.
No.
Oh my gosh, you're almost dead.
This is why it's so hard to play as a thief mage. You don't have near enough hit points to survive in melee combat. Oh my goodness, I'm down to 4 arrows as well. I'm also running out of food. This is not.
You will live.
Okay, you know what?
Anyway, go ahead.
Where was that little thing? Where was that? That little thing on the wall. Because I got a coin and I don't want to have to rest. Because I'm going to run out of food if I do that.
I remember that. I don't remember where was it called the Charm of Life or something like that. Is that it? No. But anyway, going back, we with my boys and some of their friends, we are playing a game called Pathfinder, which is essentially Dungeons and Dragons version 3.75. A bunch of people when Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition came out. When 4th edition came out, a lot of people didn't like it, and they wanted to go back to Dungeons and Dragons 3rd edition. But there were some things they didn't like about that either. So a couple of guys went out and they made their own role-playing system, which is very heavily based on Dungeons and Dragons, and they called it Pathfinder. And that's what we're playing now.
Okay.
So okay,
I recall when I was very young, probably around 7 or 8 years old. This was when we were living in the Chicago house.
That's right.
Then late one evening, I decided to sneak downstairs after I was supposed to be in bed. And I saw you and a bunch of your friends playing something that looked like Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm out of arrows.
Oh boy.
You know, let's see what this does. Look at that. Wand of Acid. I had no idea what it was, but I was out of arrows and I was like, okay, let's see what this does. Hey, cool.
Lucky. You got very lucky.
It could have been a Wand of Distance. It might have just sent him to another part of the dungeon. Or it could have been a Wand of Magic Missiles. Or it could have been a Wand of Enhanced Foe. Basically, the kind of wand that the more you use it, the stronger your enemy gets. That's what the game does to you.
That can be useful in some cases.
Make your enemy stronger?
Yep. If you're looking to get higher experience, because what happens is with the stronger enemy, if you can defeat it, you get much more experience for it.
You're trying to play the game.
Well, it's a game after all.
Yeah. I can't play the game doesn't mean I can't play the game. Okay. Ooh, what else we got here?
Are you surrounded?
Not yet. I'm trying to keep myself from getting into a bad situation. I'd still rather not have to use a wand. Come on. I got these arrows for a reason. All right. Now, the game of Dungeons and Dragons you were playing with your friends back then, they were using little figurines on what looked like a game board. It wasn't all just pencil and paper and dice. It was actually moving characters, squares, and then rolling a dice when you're in the battle, that kind of thing.
Yes.
No idea what it was, though.
And a lot of role-playing, a lot of tabletop role-playing games, even today, they do that same thing. I find it's better if you're conducting combat to actually be able to visualize where your characters are in relation to other characters and in relation to enemies. And then the grid, the squares on the board, actually is really nice for computing distances. Like for if you have a bow, how far can that bow? What is the range on that bow? If you have someone that is right up next to you in melee range, and then you have another character that's on the other side of them, then you have what's called a flank. And that's really hard to determine unless you actually have the characters on the grid.
Oh, goodness, that's not good.
Two of them.
Yeah, there's two of them. Okay, they're not coming this way? No, they're not coming this way. Okay. I was right in front of them. One of them took a swing at me, and they're like, okay, don't need to bother with him. I've got something else to do. I got to walk down this hall about 80 more steps and then walk back.
They don't see you as a threat.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Here he comes.
Not worth bothering. Now he wants to follow me. So, what was your first experience playing Dungeon Hack? I mean, you brought this home probably in 1994, 95, if I had to guess.
Yeah, let's see. I was in college at the time, wasn't I?
Oh yeah, this was post-mission for you.
Yeah, I was going to BYU. I was living at home with mom and dad at the time, and I brought it home one day because I wanted to try it out. It looked like a fun little dungeon crawler, and it was Dungeons and Dragons, and I loved the game, and so I said, hey, let's try this out. And it turned out that the game is it's a roguelike. It's randomized, and it has the potential for permanent death. And I was fascinated. I thought it was really, really cool. And I played, I played a lot. I played the game a lot of times through, at a lot of different dungeons, a lot of different characters and things like that. And in fact, I think I played it so much and so intensively that I got sick of it after about a month.
I just found a magic arrow.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of magic arrow it is, and if I put it in my quiver, how do I know when it'll come out?
Oh, that's
first
interesting.
In, first out or last in, first out? I don't know. Figure that out.
I don't know. And it might be that they just don't allow you to put things in your quiver unless they're all identical. So they'll probably have to
find that out. For now, I don't have an identify spell ready. Nope, I don't. Okay. So maybe it's a good time to sleep for a bit, just because I'm curious.
Oh, you got monsters nearby.
If I did, it wouldn't let me sleep.
Oh, I guess you're right.
Detect magic. And what kind of arrow is this? Probably just +1.
+1.
Yep, arrow plus
one. Arrow +1.
Now, just because I wish to test if the magic arrow comes out first.
It is last in, first out.
Okay.
Or there you can try firing a bunch and then picking up the arrow first and then picking up other arrows after it and see if it is truly firing the magic arrow just because
it missed. First time I shot it and it missed.
Oh, you hit something behind it. There you go.
Okay. If I put this in here and then put in a regular arrow, which comes out first?
The regular
arrow.
So it is LIFO.
Okay. Last in, first out.
Yep. It's a stack.
Magic arrow last.
For all of you programmers all you programmer types out there, it's a stack.
It's a stack. Okay. Oh boy. Thankfully he missed. Hey, you're supposed to go down after one shot. Come on. Can you imagine what this is going to be like when I start fighting ghouls or maybe bugbears or way down into the dungeon you start finding death knights and liches.
You start running into monsters that have damage resistance. And you have monsters that simply cannot be hit unless you have a magical weapon, like ghosts and things.
Yeah.
You sound like you're doing housework.
I don't know. I'm playing a game that I really, really enjoyed when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
It's just fun to go back and think about these things.
Yeah.
Once we got into the 2000s, though, what kind of RPG started showing up at that point?
Baldur's Gate.
Oh, yes. I remember Baldur's Gate. That was a full party kind of D&D game. It was overhead perspective.
Baldur's Gate was revolutionary.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the amount of interactivity that it had, the amount of choices that you had, the amount of variety of characters that you could have in your party, and then on top of that, being a CRPG, it really focused on the story of the game itself. And not a lot of the previous CRPGs, they did have some story here and there, but for the most part, they were just you run around, you fight monsters, you get extra power, and then you go fight the big boss, and the game's done. That's the way a lot of them were. There wasn't really all that much story to it. But then when Baldur's Gate first came out, it had a really heavy story focus to it, and that was revolutionary. And a lot of the really good RPGs since then have followed suit. They try and focus on some really good storytelling. If you've ever played any of the Dragon Age games or the Mass Effect style games, well, those are two games from BioWare. Let's think of another RPG from a different company, like the Elder Scrolls, Skyrim. It's very story heavy, and that was, I think, started from the original Baldur's Gate.
Well, I do remember having a lot of fun with the original Baldur's Gate and its follow-up, number 2. Didn't play any others in that series, though.
Oh, another coin?
Another silver coin.
Yay!
I also found some magical bracers, but again, scared to put them on.
Now, Baldur's Gate, it had one sequel, and then there was another couple of games that used the same engine. They were Icewind Dale, and I don't think you ever played those.
I think I might have tried Icewind Dale once.
I personally haven't tried it. I didn't know it existed until a few years ago. And so I have it on my wish list. I'll probably buy it one day. But
time to play something like that.
Obsidian, the company that made the original Baldur's Gate, they have actually kind of resurrected that style of game, and they've made a recent title called Pillars of Eternity, which is very much in the style of Baldur's Gate, but is very, very modern. It's all 3D rendered, and it's again very, very story heavy, and with deep character development and stuff. And I just finished playing Pillars of Eternity a couple of months ago, and I really enjoyed it.
Seems I just found the stairs down to the next level, and I think I found the boss of this particular level. Every level of dungeon in this game, right near the stairs, usually you will find something bigger and badder than anything else in the.
That's a hobgoblin.
That is a bugbear, actually.
Oh, it's a bugbear.
And he just hit me for 5.
Yikes!
Wielding axes. I'm trying to pull him back and keep shooting, but I'm running out of arrows here. Come on, please go down. I don't have anything left. Oh, I do have something left.
And you're going to get hit.
Bye-bye.
Oh, look at that. Nice.
That's what I got that for. It's for emergency uses.
More potions.
A magical staff.
Magic staff. Very nice.
And a gold potion. And I got to pick up every single one of my arrows. Oh, goodness.
Now,
it really adds to the realism.
There's something that they didn't do in this game, and I'm actually glad they didn't. You have the concept of arrows that either get lost or get broken. You shoot them against a wall, and the wood shatters. They never did that in this game. As long as you could get to where the arrow ended up, you could pick it up and put it back in your quiver.
Okay, I definitely need to sit and rest for a bit because, yeah, I was hurt.
Yep.
No need to change my spells yet. Let's see how long it takes me to actually heal.
20, 30, 40. Yeah, 40. Gosh, I was just going to say something, and I lost track of what I was thinking.
It's all right.
Ah, shoot. All right. It'll come back to me later.
You were talking about the newest Baldur's Gate successor
Oh yeah, yeah. Pillars of Eternity was good. They've actually had they've produced another one since they did Pillars of Eternity, and I don't remember the name of it. But from what I understand, it's about being. It actually is a very very dark story. So I'm not sure I'm gonna want to play that one.
Well, on the plus side, I just found some bracers of archery.
Ooh, nice.
And that is something that I am actually using this time around in this game, and I'm actually being an archer. Okay, what do bracers of archery actually do? Maybe the D&D expert here can tell me.
All right, I will look it up. Just a moment.
And I'm going to go down to the next level. Better save first, though. Oh, now I forgot this guy's name. What was his name?
Saros.
Saros. Okay. What just happened? What? I don't get why it's not saving.
Oh, because it's permadeath.
No, you should still be able to save.
You know,
that makes no sense.
I think you're right. Why isn't it saving?
That's odd. That's so odd.
Now, try this. Maybe because you have it set on permanent death, it won't let you save.
Oh, maybe you have to go down to the next level first. Okay, maybe that's it. Okay, I can understand that.
Well, and what I think what they're also trying to do is, if the permanent death is on, they try and stop you from save scumming.
Watch what it happens when I go down these stairs. You'll remember.
Going down. Oh, yes, of course. It's the, oh, yeah.
This is the anti-shareware feature. Because it used to be on floppy disks that you could just put in any computer and load it up, but you needed to have the manual with you.
Yeah.
However, since they uploaded it to Good Old Games, you could just enter any word and it'll accept it.
Yeah, nice. They broke that. That was one of the very easiest copy protections to break, because all you had to do was photocopy the manual, and then you can make copies of the discs. And
I just found a ghoul, and I took him down. Now let's save the game.
No!
Oh!
Okay, try this. Try this. Back out of here. I think they're trying to stop you from save scumming. Try exiting the game and see if it saves. Oh, you know what? If it doesn't save when you exit, then you're going to lose the whole thing. No, don't worry about it.
I've been able to save this game just fine.
Have you ever played with permadeath before?
Yes.
Then I don't know what's going on.
That is so weird. I don't get it, but I guess we're just going to keep going. All right, so what were we talking about?
Ghouly ghoul ghoul ghoul.
What else is on this floor? That's another ghoul. Dunk. Now, if I come across anything that cannot be hit except by +1 weapons,
you're in bad shape.
Useless in that situation. Please tell me I have a spell.
Nice, nice.
I do not want to be caught up against the wall here. Come on. I need to be able to have room to maneuver if I want to live through this. Now this whole floor is filled with these tapestries of something very nasty looking. What sort of creature is this? I can only hope that if I need to confront it, that I will find the power to defeat it.
Oh, the ever-loving cheese of the flavor text.
Oh, yes. But it's fun.
It is fun.
It adds to the, ooh, this is neat factor. What's the map look like? I am way up at the top. Okay. Oh, more of these guys. Dunk. What kind of scroll? A shocking grasp. I like the sound of that.
That's very similar to Burning Hands, except it requires a touch to hit attack.
Yeah, and I'd rather not have to use that if I can avoid it. And now I've got multiple guys coming down the hallway, and I'm trying to think. I'm going to start shooting, but I'm not going to be able to pick up arrows, so... Ugh.
Oh, you got one.
Yeah, still got one more. There we go.
Right.
Okay.
You're lucky that ghouls don't have the stipulation that they can only be hit by magic weapons.
Now, there's plenty of other creatures in here that require magic weapons.
Oh, right up in his face, and you just brought him down.
Yeah.
Oh, a gold coin.
Pretty much all the treasures you find in here have a purpose. You're not supposed to be thinking, oh, this is stuff I need to take out of the dungeon. No, no, this is more about every coin you find can potentially heal you if you find the right spot later on. Diamonds you find are often used as keys for doors, same with sapphires and other gems. Is that a little loud? I can't tell.
Nope, that's just fine.
Because they've got a whole lot of going on.
It is a ghoul after all. They can't really say much else.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm just curious if anyone might find that annoying after a while. I don't know. I still love a game like this. Even though I haven't played it for years, I felt the need to come back to it just for fun. It's so old school compared to everything you see nowadays. I can't imagine that a lot of the people watching this are looking at it like, how could you consider something like this fun? It's all pixely.
That's just a short bow. Yeah, you already got one.
A short bow.
Now, if you enjoyed this kind of game, I'm wondering if you would enjoy some of the like Might and Magic 3.
Don't believe I ever played that one.
It's the mechanics of gameplay are very similar, except that game is party based instead of a solo. But it's same type of thing. You know, it's grid based, and you can only face northeast, southwest, and everything's turn based, and you're firing arrows down hallways and things like that.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Ooh, that hurts.
Both of them got close enough to claw at me. And then they decided to, nope, yep, he's all done.
Is there a disease mechanic in this game?
There's poison.
Yeah, because ghouls can spread disease.
They can also paralyze you for a short time.
Oh, that's fun.
So, yeah, they could have paralyzed me for like 10 seconds, and I'd have to try and move away as best I could because I couldn't use the bow. That may happen later on. I'd rather it not happen, especially if I'm trapped in a corner. Let's see. Switch. More of these things. So many of them. I hope I'm gaining some good experience by getting through these guys. I really do.
I don't remember if there's a way to check how much experience you have versus how much you need. Oh, okay, it shows you how much you have, but it doesn't tell you how much you need. I can look it up.
Yeah, I remember that thieves are actually probably the quickest to level out of all the classes. And mages are actually the slowest to level out of all the classes. If I recall correctly, the very first level for a thief, you only need 1,250 experience versus a mage, 2,500.
Yep, yep. And if I remember correctly, bards and I think rangers also leveled up fairly slowly.
Could be. Ooh. Sneak in here and grab this. Thank you. What was the deepest you ever got in Dungeon Hack?
Oh,
I know you beat the game, but since you can adjust the dungeon level, what is the deepest you ever got into a dungeon?
I don't think I got anywhere past 12 or 13.
Yeah. I think I mentioned earlier that I was playing a fighter mage cleric.
Yep.
And I got him all the way down to dungeon number 11. And then I came across a single creature, metallic scorpion, I don't know what I'd call it. It shot one lightning bolt at me. One. And killed me.
Dead. Oh my gosh.
I had full hit points, and it killed me with one lightning strike. And I happened to have been playing with character death real on. So yeah, that wasn't fun. That was frustrating.
Okay. I've got the second edition level up charts here. I was wrong. It was the Bard and the Thief that are easiest to level up. They only need 1250 for level 2. It's the Magic User and the Ranger and the Paladin they level up the slowest.
Yeah, sounds about right to me.
Oh, and by the way, those bracers of archery, from what I can tell, it gives +2 damage for ranged attacks.
Okay, that's helpful. Bit of a bad spot for the moment, though. I'm taking another hit, and I really shouldn't have had to take that hit.
One more, I think, it'd probably finish you off.
More than likely. It seems like a fairly safe spot to... I hear doors opening and closing, but I think that might be on the other side of this wall. All right, so we're going to rest up. And I need food, goodness. I need food. All right, what kind of food have I got? These are iron rations. They're much better than regular rations.
Can you can you take a look at your experience one more time? You're like 67 something, 6856.
6856 for both classes.
So let me see where you're going to level up. As a mage, your next level is going to be at 10,000 experience.
Oh, wonderful.
All right. And as a thief, since you're already level 4 as a thief, your next level after that is also going to be 10,000.
All right. So I got a ways to go. Let's identify.
You got a ways to go.
Neutralize poison.
Very nice.
And protection +2.
What about the other ones that you have on?
The other ones are the bracers of archery. So I either increase my offense or I increase my defense.
Good choice. Let's see. Put you in a bit of a moral dilemma.
As long as I'm going up against slow-moving creatures, it probably makes sense to stick with the offense.
Yep.
But I'm going to keep these around anyways.
Yeah, you will likely need them later.
If I had a decent armor class and some decent melee weapons, I'd consider going toe-to-toe instead of stepping back every single fight. Because it is a little tedious to fight this way, always having to pick up your arrows afterwards.
This is one reason why I like to play a Ranger Cleric. Ranger being a fighter class, they have the ability. Oh, did you see the secret passage?
I see that. Being a half elf or full elf.
Yeah, you have the natural ability to detect secret passages.
Ain't that fun?
So the Ranger being a fighter subclass, he can use pretty much all weapons and all types of armor. And you get a pretty decent amount of hit points.
Oh dear, I wasn't watching my right.
With the Cleric, on the other hand, you have the ability to heal yourself, so you're not sitting there resting for 50 hours at a time just to heal yourself. You can just memorize and cast cure spells.
Not to mention that once clerics get high enough level, they can actually create their own food and water.
That's also true. That's also true. Yeah, and clerics, they are very good against undead. They have the ability to turn undead, and then at higher levels, they have abilities to just simply destroy them outright.
In my opinion, playing as a cleric in this game is easy mode.
It's overpowered.
You will still have difficulty here and there, but it is easy mode playing as a cleric. And I like a challenge. More bracers. No, that's another bracers of archery. I don't need more than one. What is this? Shield. Oh, scribe that.
Okay. If I remember correctly, shield will protect you
against from missile weapons.
Yes, missile weapons.
But these guys aren't using missile weapons, so no biggie. Find some more food. I do need more food. In fact, I can probably eat that. There we go.
Boop.
Boop. What else we got?
Oh, you're getting good.
Now, I need to gain levels in order to increase my THAC0.
Now, there's a good one.
Yeah. Explain what THAC0 is. Yeah, that'll be fun.
If you go to your character sheet, I'll wait till you get out of combat, but if you go to your character sheet, does it actually say?
It doesn't say what the THAC0 is for the character. But it does so what the armor class is, and with that, you can explain what THAC0 is.
Right. In Dungeons & Dragons 1st and 2nd edition, they had a concept that was called THAC0, which is actually an acronym for 2-hit armor class 0. Your THAC0 is actually, it is a measure of your ability to hit a creature that has an armor class of exactly 0. And that was usually used as a base, because remember that the whole system of armor class going down was actually good. It became complicated, and so what they came up with the concept of THAC0 to kind of give you a baseline that says if the creature has armor class 0, then you have to make this roll or higher to hit them, and then as armor class goes up, the roll that you need becomes it goes down, and then as armor class goes down, the roll that you need goes up. And so you can see how that's kind of confusing. But THAC0 actually, it did help to simplify the combat a little bit, so that you're not sitting there constantly having to look at tables. Okay, well, if I'm a level 3 fighter, what do I have to roll to hit armor class 3? I remember the Dungeon Master screen for 1st edition Dungeons & Dragons. It had all of those tables in it. Depending on which class you were and what level you were, they gave you the amount you had to roll or higher in order to hit each number of armor class. And it got ridiculous.
I'm sure it did. Goodness. I think I might have taken a sneak peek at that window for a Dungeon Master when I was a kid, and I was like, what is all this?
Yeah, it was all lookup tables that you could use for quick reference so that you could keep the game moving instead of sitting there thumbing through the rule books trying to figure out what the right rule is and what the right lookup table was.
Whereas if you play something of Dungeons and Dragons today,
it's a lot more. It's. I wouldn't say it's simpler. I would say it is more straightforward. It's.
Oh, that's fun.
Use it. Starting in 3rd edition, when they had positive armor class that starts from 10, it made the system a lot easier because in order to hit a certain armor class, you had to take all of your bonuses to hit. If you're in melee, you use your strength bonus and any magical properties on your weapon, and you add all that up. Then you roll a 20-sided dice, add your bonus to it, and if it's greater than or equal to the armor class, then you hit. It's that simple.
It took you how long to explain that?
Well, it's a lot. It takes a lot longer to explain it than to actually do it.
I think I'm in a slightly bad spot. I could tell that there was a guy coming in from behind me, so yeah, I wanted to get in here to try to have some room to maneuver. Where'd he go? There he is. Okay.
One shot.
I'm gaining experience, though. I think these ghouls are worth a lot more than those hobgoblins, that's for sure. Good boy.
I'd like, you know, if you can focus enough to answer a question and still play the game.
I'd like to do that, yeah.
What actually started you on Dungeons and Dragons?
Probably you. Come on. How many D&D style games were you playing while I was growing up?
A lot.
I would take a look over your shoulder. I'm like, what's that? What's that? How does that work?
I remember you watched me like a hawk when I played Ultima 4.
I was curious. What was it that my brother Rob was so interested in all the time? He played this for hours on end. How does this work? That's what got me into Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
But like I've said before, I have very rarely played tabletop Dungeons and Dragons. It's always been just computer-based Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
Getting a little lost in here. Now, you have tried to invite me to play Pathfinder with you and your boys a couple of times.
And it's not just Pathfinder. I also invited you to play. There's a forum-based role-playing that we did, and chat-based role-playing, and I don't remember what else I've invited you to come. And I don't think you've ever played with us.
I have to feel like something's happening, for one, because if I'm waiting 20 minutes to do one thing and then wait 20 minutes to do another thing, I don't know.
Now, you see, it doesn't happen that way anymore. For example, just this morning we were playing Pathfinder with 6 players, and the game was moving along at a pretty good clip. When we got into combat, everybody was able to go through and do their, they had their move, which lasted, probably 20 or 30 seconds, and then everyone else would take their move, and by the time it became your move again, it was probably another 2 or 3 minutes later.
Yeah. I imagine after doing that for a while, I'd start stacking my dice and playing Jenga. That's pretty common practice for D&D players, though, isn't it? You start getting bored, you start stacking your dice.
There's also the dice spinning.
Oh, of course.
The 20-sided dice being almost spherical, it's very easy to spin it. The 10-sided dice is easy to spin. The 12-sided is pretty easy. Then you get into the 8-sided and the 6-sided, and you try to spin those, it becomes a lot harder. And so it's a skill that you develop as a Dungeons and Dragons player, is how to spin objects of varying different three-dimensional shapes.
It's also a good benchmark for how good of a DM you are. How much time your players are spending on their dice, other than the way it's supposed to be used.
Yeah. If your players are getting bored because they're idle, then you need to move things along.
Oh, goodness, more and more of these things. Do I have a burning hands?
I believe you do.
Boom. Now, when I gain enough levels as a mage, hello, there's another throwing dagger.
Throwing dagger.
I may have to take a look at what those throwing daggers actually have as their stats. Is it getting a little late for you, Teric?
It is. It's midnight for me.
Oh, well, I don't want to keep you up all night.
Yep.
What do you suppose we should talk about before we close out for the evening?
Well, we did have our video, The Value of Role Play, and I think that focused more on, what is that?
That is a were-rat. That's a problem. That requires +1 weapons to hit, and I don't have my +1 arrow with me.
Use your wand.
I have my wand. I have a staff +1, but that means I have to get up close and personal, and I don't want to do that.
You've got +1 throwing daggers.
So, and it didn't work. It didn't work. That's not fair.
There you go. You got him.
Crying out loud.
He must have made his saving throw.
Against a wand of acid? Really?
Yeah. Sometimes the saving throw is difficult, but it's not impossible.
Well, that was surprising, just out of the blue. Oh goodness, where rat? I can't hit it with normal arrows. Oh no! Oh no! Please don't do that.
Oh,
and there we go.
Oh no!
Came up from behind me. I just barely defeated the were-rat, and it came up from behind me.
Wow.
Okay.
Could we have possibly asked for better timing? It's not like I wanted you to die, but that's actually rather convenient.
Yeah, kind of convenient indeed. If you take a look at this score table,
yep.
We got this Cronin character killed on 10, 682,000 experience. That was my fighter mage cleric.
Wow.
Got killed with 1 strike of lightning from this metallic scorpion thing. I still wish I knew what it was called. Anyways, thank you very much for all the time you've spent relaying your memories of D&D, Teric.
Oh, you're welcome. I enjoyed talking about it. It's a lot of fun. I wish I could get you to play with us sometime.
The only way I could see that working is if we're recording it and we're including other YouTubers who people would want to listen to. I mean, you get the right people into a live stream call while playing D&D. Yeah, you've got some potential there. You just got to keep things interesting, keep it rolling.
Well, make it so, number one. Let's do it.
All right. Well, thank you very much for all the discussion, Teric. It was a short little life for Ceros, the elf mage thief.
Poor guy. He didn't make it very far. Oh well.
I tried being so careful, and in the end, I got surrounded. Too bad.
Yep. Anyway, it was fun. Thanks, Doc. We'll sign off here.
For anyone who managed to listen through this whole thing, I would honestly like to hear whether you've played anything like this game, whether you've played tabletop Dungeons and Dragons before, your kind of experiences with that, and whether you'd be interested to hear more conversations like this. Because, yeah, when you get Teric and I together, we can go for quite a while.
Yep.
But in the meantime, as per usual, I am Dr. Wolf, and he is
Teric Dragon.
He's Teric Dragon, and we look forward to hearing from you. All right.
Listo. All right, so.
Wow. Okay.